I hang between two oak trees in the backyard of a New England home. My fibers have weathered countless seasons: summer storms, autumn winds, winter snow, and spring renewal. I've been here for 15 years now. My once vibrant blue and white stripes faded to a gentle whisper of their former boldness. The Millers bought me during their honeymoon in coastal Maine. "Perfect for the backyard," James had said, his voice full of plans for lazy Sunday afternoons. Sarah had run her fingers along my woven pattern, testing my strength with a gentle tug. "It'll last forever," the shopkeeper promised. Perhaps not forever, but I've outlasted many things in this family. The wind passes through me in gentle waves. I've learned to read the seasons by the way the light filters through the oak leaves above. Golden and direct in summer, dappled and fleeting in fall, harsh and bare in winter. The birds know me well. Generations of robins have used my frayed edges for their nests. It was their daughter Emma who loved me most. From the time she was 3, I became her sanctuary. Sarah would place her tiny body in my embrace, and I would cradle her while she napped in the summer heat. As she grew, Emma would bring her books, climbing into me with the careful determination of a child claiming their special place. "Higher, Daddy," she would squeal as James pushed her in gentle arcs. I learned the weight of her laughter, the way her small fingers would grip my edges when she was afraid of falling. By the time she was 10, Emma had claimed me as her thinking spot. "The hammock is where I figure things out," she told her mother once, her voice serious beyond her years. She would lie in me for hours, watching the clouds shift and transform, telling me secrets in whispered tones that disappeared into the summer air. The summer Emma turned 12, something changed. She came to me less often, and when she did, her body felt different. Heavier somehow, but not from growth alone. There was a new tension in her limbs, a stillness that hadn't been there before. The adults' voices changed too. Hushed conversations on the patio while Emma slept inside. Words like treatment and prognosis floated across the yard to where I hung, suddenly too empty. "She needs rest," the doctor had said. "Fresh air when possible." So they brought her to me again, but differently now. Sarah would carry her, though Emma was nearly a teenager, and place her gently in my embrace. Emma's once energetic body now lay still, her eyes closed against the sunlight that used to delight her. The oak trees above seemed to bend closer, their leaves creating a protective canopy. The birds grew quieter, as if they understood. The wind still passed through me, but I held tighter to Emma, trying to keep her from drifting away. I remembered the texture of the quilts they would wrap around her, even in summer. The soft cotton against my rougher fibers. The scent of the medicinal creams they rubbed into her pale skin. The sound of Sarah reading aloud, hour after hour, stories of faraway places and brave children overcoming impossible odds. James would sit nearby, his hands busy with small woodworking projects he never seemed to finish. Sometimes he would reach out to adjust Emma's pillow or brush hair from her forehead with fingers that trembled slightly. "Tell me about the clouds again, Dad," Emma would ask on her stronger days. And James would make up elaborate stories about cloud kingdoms and cotton candy castles, his voice breaking only when he thought she had fallen asleep. I learned to recognize the rhythm of her breathing. The good days when it came easy and deep, the bad days when it was shallow and quick. I learned the weight of hope and despair, how they could exist in the same moment, in the same body. The seasons changed. Fall came and they wrapped her in thicker blankets. The doctors had said the fresh air was good, so they brought her to me even as the leaves began to turn. I held her through October, feeling her grow lighter with each passing week. 3 years passed before they used me again. 3 years of hanging empty between the oaks, collecting leaves and rain and snow. 3 years of watching the back door, waiting for a family that seemed to have forgotten how to come outside. Then one spring day, the door opened. James walked across the yard, older now, his steps heavier. He stood before me for a long time, just looking. Then he reached out and touched my faded fabric, his fingers tracing the pattern as Sarah had done all those years ago. He returned with tools the next day. Carefully, he reinforced my supports, washed my fabric, and secured my fraying edges. He worked silently, methodically, as if completing a ritual. A week later, Sarah came too. They sat together in my embrace, awkward at first, these two people who had forgotten how to rest. But slowly, their bodies remembered. Sarah leaned her head against James's shoulder. He put his arm around her. "She loved this spot," Sarah whispered. "She did," James agreed. "She said it was where she could see everything." They brought a small box with them the next time. Together, they buried it beneath the oak tree to my right. A time capsule, they called it, filled with Emma's favorite things, her books, her cloud drawings, the seashell collection from their last beach trip. "We'll open it in 10 years, James said, patting the earth down. "She would have been 25, Sarah replied. The years continue their steady march. The Millers still come to me, more often now. Sometimes with friends, sometimes alone. Sarah has planted flowers beneath the oaks. Bright, resilient things that return each spring. Last summer they brought visitors. A young couple with a toddler who looked at me with curious eyes. "Emma's hammock," Sarah explained, her voice steady now when speaking her daughter's name. "It's been here forever. Not forever, but long enough to hold the weight of a family's joy and sorrow. Long enough to know that some things don't end when they seem to." The child climbed in, tentative at first, then with growing confidence. Her laughter rang out, so similar to another laugh I once knew that the birds seemed to pause in recognition. I am just a hammock, woven of cotton and memory. I have no voice they can hear, but I hold them still. These people who have loved and lost, and somehow found their way back to the simple pleasure of swaying between two trees on a summer day. The wind passes through me, carrying the scent of Sarah's flowers, and the distant sound of children playing in neighboring yards. Above, the clouds still form their kingdoms and castles, and I remain, gently swinging, bearing witness to the quiet miracle of continuing.